Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to do a little bit something different. A lot of times, or there's a lot of discussion going on in forums and different places as to what is the correct way to install a diverter valve, or is there any performance benefits on installing it the one way or the other way. As most of you probably know, the function of the diverter valve is to relieve the pressure when the throttle closes on a car. So what you'll have is the proper way to install this, or the way it is from the factory, would be that the boost pressure from the charge pipe is entering up the bottom here. There's a diaphragm in here that is keeping the boost out. When the vehicle needs to dump the boost, put the vacuum here on this side, opening the diaphragm, allowing the air to come through the valve and back into the intake pipe. So when you flip it around, you end up with the diaphragm, with the boost pushing against the diaphragm, which I'll try to get a shot of the diaphragm. And the theory being that the boost coming into the diverter valve will push the diaphragm open and allow the boost to escape. So today we're going to try doing some tests to see if we can figure out if there's a benefit to installing it the correct way or flipping it around. Alright, so here's what we're going to be using to do our testing today. I got a leak down tester we'll be able to put whatever pressure we want, the desired pressure. We'll probably be testing a couple different levels, you know, if you're going to be running stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, big turbo, different things. And then this gauge here is going to give us our leak down, or the amount that is leaking past the seal. So we'll be able to we'll test in both directions and see if there's a difference one way or the other. And then here's the diverter valves we'll be testing. These are just some I had laying around the shop from various engines I got around here. The first two here I believe are just simply stock S4, or I think possibly even the 1.8 diverter valves. I didn't specifically check. This one would be the 710B. And then the third one is what I'm running on my stage 3 S4. It's the 110, known as the 110 Sport. It would have been factory on, I believe, some Saabs and possibly some Volvos. Generally, people consider it equal or slightly better than the 710N, which is what majority of people run. Unfortunately, I don't have the 710N. I would have liked to have one of them to test also, but I didn't have any in the shop right now, so we're going to have to make do with what I have. And then last, just for anyhow, I have an excess power splitter valve, partial blow-off valve, splitter valve things that came on one of the cars I bought. I've never actually ran one of these, so I really don't know what in the world it's going to do, but we're going to find out. So all of these, look in there, you can see the plunger, and it's probably going to be too dark in there, but that is where the boost is supposed to go through. Also have a vacuum pump here. We're going to try actuating the diverter valves while we have pressure on, seeing how that works. So let's get started and see what we can learn. Alright, so we're going to start with this. It's a Kaiser. Not sure where these come from, never actually ran the brand or bought any from this, but it is says made in Germany, so it's one of a German brand. We're going to start off testing it the proper way. So we're going to put it on here. Try it without a clamp. I don't think that's... So this would be the factory way. The boost pressure is going to be pushing up against the back side of the diaphragm, and we're going to see what it does. So we're going to start giving it some pressure here. There we can see the needle start going up. You can all see here. You can actually already hear it leaking. I'm going to set the input pressure at 10 psi, and we're actually leaking pretty good. So at 5 psi, we bumped that up to 15 psi, which would be your kind of your general stage 1 boost pressure. and we're still sitting at about 6 psi a leak. Bumped it up to around the 20, which would be an aggressive stage 2 or kind of a more mild stage 3. Pretty much still the same leak down. Heading up towards 28, really hasn't changed. We got a good amount of leak here. So you can see if when I completely block it off and don't allow it to leak, this gauge goes up and stays with the other one. So we have a pretty good amount of leak on this one. Alright, so now I got it hooked up backwards, or opposite, to where now when our boost comes in, it's going to be trying to push the diaphragm open. So let's see if it's better or worse this way. I'm going to set it at 10 psi right away over here. And unbelievably, we actually have practically no leak whatsoever. Almost holding exactly 10 psi. We're going to bump it up a little bit. At 12 psi, I'm starting to hear a little bit of leak, but we're still sitting at 10. So this way is actually doing a whole lot better than the opposite way. Bump it up to 20, and we're actually a little bit over 10. So that is quite a bit, almost twice as good as having it installed the correct way. I'm going to go ahead and put the vacuum pump on it. We're going to open it and see if the spring has enough tension to shut it again after it's been opened. So there we can see we dumped all the boost, or opened the valve. Yep, piston closed, we're back down to the same amount of leak down. So now we know that. On this specific diverter valve, backwards is actually less of a leak than the proper way. See what the next one is like. Okay, so I just tested this one. These two both be stock S4 diverter valves, and the results were actually pretty much identical to this one, so I don't think we're going to go through all that. I'm going to jump to the 110, also known as the 110 Sport. It's the one that I am currently running on my S4. I actually stole this one off my S4 to do the test on. So we're going to see how this compares. I believe this one's supposed to have 22 psi spring in it. I'm not exactly sure what the stock ones are. I should have looked that up. But anyway, this is supposed to be as good, or most people would consider it better than the 710N. So we're going to see what it does. We're going to start off with the factory position. Get it set up. I'm going to put the vacuum pump on it so I can open and close it a little bit under boost. Start giving it some pressure. Sitting at 10 psi. Open it. Close it. This one's also doing very poor. At only 10 psi, I'm only showing it holding 5. Hopefully you can see that there. Just going to up that to 15. I'm going to open it, close it, open it, close it. Pretty much exactly the same. 20 psi. Still exactly the same. Take it all the way up to 30. Open, close. Very poor. That's actually pretty disappointing. Sitting right at about 5-6 pounds at 30 psi of pressure. So not good at all. Let's go ahead and switch it around. And just a note, I was running these backwards. I actually got a comment in one of my videos asking why I'm running it backwards, and I really didn't have a good answer other than that's how I've always done it. So today I'm going to find out if I'm making a mistake or not. On these two, it actually looked like backwards was holding almost double the pressure, or had twice as little leak down. So, got it all hooked up here. Start giving it some boost. Got it up to 10. Got a little bit, very faint. You barely hear it, but it's Just got the slightest. Go to about 15. Definitely got some leak down. We can hear it hissing out of there. 20, we're at about 10. We're going to open it. Close it. Open, close. 30. Alright, so almost the exact same results as these. I believe these were right around the 8 range, so the 110 here is definitely slightly better, although not a whole lot. Now unfortunately I don't have a new one. I might have to pick up a new 710N to see if the results are any better on a new one. But so far the results were pretty even across all 3 of these as far as the amount of leak down. So now we're going to try to give it one more shot. We're going to give this excess power blow off valve a try just to see what it can do. Let's see here. Let's start with the proper way. Start giving it some pressure here. Okay, this one is already leaking quite a bit. 20 psi, we're barely up to 5. 30 psi. And you can hear the diaphragm on this thing is not even holding pressure at all. So if you're running one of these and you have vacuum leaks or idle issues, check it. The diaphragm is probably leaking. See, it almost instantly leaks open again. So, not any about the same as these were. Let's try it the other way. Again, this one is about exactly the same. Actually, it is a little worse this way. 30 psi, we're still only getting up to 5 psi on this side. So there's a tremendous, it will not actually hold pressure even if I block this side off. It's leaking all the air out the piston. So if you've been thinking about buying these, do yourself a favor and save your money. This one very obviously doesn't hold boost anywhere. It leaks around the diaphragm, it leaks through it, and the diaphragm itself doesn't hold vacuum. So they might make the noise, but they're not very good for performance. Alright, so there you have it. I was actually pretty surprised with the results. I didn't figure that they would all leak that bad. But overall, it does seem to surprisingly that installing them backwards across all 3 of them did actually hold more boost and leak less. And I wish I had a better way of testing it, but the theory is that with the boost coming up against the bottom of the piston, it takes less vacuum, or you'll have faster response when you get vacuum on the diaphragm to dump your boost. So I guess that's what we learned. If you got any comments, please leave them below. If you want some more testing done on whether it be diverter valves or something else, post it in the comments and I'll try to do that. But until then, if you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and stick around for the next one.